Hi, and I'm sure my faculty over there would love this to be short, but since we have sun, so I beg that you will indulge me a little bit. Mrs. McGeehee, Foxcroft faculty and administration, trustees, parents, friends, alumni, and most importantly, the Foxcroft class of 2017. I'm delighted to be with you in Miss Charlotte's garden on this rainy and not so rainy morning to celebrate the exemplary character and achievements of the accomplished senior class seated here before us. In the finale to her novel, Middlemarch, George Eliot mused, "Every limit is a beginning as well as an ending. Who can quit young lives after being long in company with them and not desire to know what befell them in their after years?" Graduates, before I can tender you some provisional answers to this question, we must first meditate on the ending of the Foxcroft chapter of your life story. When our seniors approached me a few weeks ago about delivering this address, I felt deeply honored and humbled by their invitation. Moreover, I feel a special affinity to the class of 2017, for I, too, arrived on this beautiful campus with many of them in the fall of 2013. I began to ponder what we have experienced together in our time here, and as my students of rhetoric will tell you, I am all about the logos of the argument, all about finding concrete evidence to support and develop my contentions. Mark Twain once said, "Get your facts first, and then you can distort them as much as you please." So with the help of many colleagues, I now lay the facts of my case before you. Please distort these statistics according to your number of years at Foxcroft, and apologies in advance for any errors in math. First, if you entered Foxcroft in 9th grade, you have spent 22,848 hours on this campus. In pursuing Miss Charlotte's creed of a healthy mind and healthy body, you have logged 1,120 hours in athletic practices and games if you are a two-season varsity athlete. For world language students, you have devoted 493 hours to reading, speaking, and writing in a foreign language. You have drafted and edited some 45 English and history papers for an average total of 135 pages of written work. Aspiring scientists among you have completed 30 labs, requiring an average of another 150 pages in lab reports. You have enjoyed 170 hours of morning meetings. If you're one of our talented thespians performing in one major show per year, you have spent 640 hours in production. At Foxcroft, we also know that foxes love hounds and hounds love foxes. So that beloved mission has involved about 300 hours of foxhound sing-sings, athletic practices, and competitions. You have sat for 40 final exams. Finally, you have logged 13,440 hours in classes over 4 years, not counting winter mission, exam weeks, epidemics, snowmageddons, those 20-minute bathroom breaks, times in the infirm, or just sleeping in. Are we tired yet? And what are we to make of these hours of prep time for the main event, your college career and life after Foxcroft, when the real journey begins? Time, according to Henry David Thoreau, is but the stream I go a-fishing in. I drink at it, but while I drink, I see the sandy bottom and detect how shallow it is. Its thin current slides away, but eternity remains. Decades ago, in the dark ages, I once sat where you are now sitting. I was 18, completing senior year at a prep school in southern New Hampshire, where academic and athletic pain and suffering seemed the main courses on the menu of daily life. I was likewise considering the prospect of my college career, with weekly phone calls of encouragement and not so subtle warnings from my mother. Have you considered majoring in economics instead of English? What about a double major? I felt as if I barely had time to contemplate my talents and opportunities, much less to develop them. I felt as if I had to hurry up just to keep up. Yet, as my life has unfolded, I've come to cherish my personal talents and embrace change, such as the lovely serendipity that first brought me through these gates. Graduates, the lessons you have learned at Foxcroft will reveal themselves to you only gradually during the next 23,000 hours in college and in the years beyond as you continue your academic odysseys, seek fulfilling careers, and live the lives you have envisioned. But take time to be present in every moment of your lives, in both the physical and digital worlds. In the case of the latter, consider powering off your cell phones and laptops occasionally so that you may fully appreciate the beauty of the people, places, and ideas which you will come in contact with. You have earned some well-deserved opportunities today, yet these opportunities deserve much from you in return. In his book, The World is Flat, Thomas Friedman argues that to achieve success in the 21st century, we must become versatilists, people who develop a depth of skills needed to apply to the rapidly evolving scope of professional, technological, and personal life. Further, we must expand our individual capacity for innovation by embracing new skills that we need tomorrow, skills that do not even exist today. To meet these challenges requires character and open-mindedness. For as George Eliot also noted, character is not cut in marble. It is not something solid or unalterable. It is something living and changing. So graduates, after this beautiful celebration of all your achievements in Foxcroft, what will motivate you tomorrow as our new alumni, future scholars, and thought leaders? To answer this question, I naturally turn to my dog-eared volumes of poetry and prose. As you move on from Foxcroft School, our Walden South, take heed of Thoreau's timeless words. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. No, I'm not inviting you to remain at Foxcroft permanently. Instead, I urge you to carry with you the memories of these woods and these fields as a kind of symbolic offering, one that can sustain you as you seek your degrees and careers, as you live deliberately in times of both triumph and hardship. Like all restless intellectuals, we vacillate between poles of imagination and practical reality, or between passion and reason. And it strikes me that these are not antitheses. We need to synthesize all of these attributes in order to lead rich and purposeful lives. But finding a purpose is not quite so simple. Let's consider some anecdotal evidence. John Milton's Sonnet 19, published in 1655, begins with the following lines. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me, useless. The speaker in the poem faces a crisis in his life, brought on by the fact that his light is spent. That is, he has become physically blind, much like John Milton himself, who lost his eyesight at the height of his writing career as a brilliant poet and political essayist, as a revolutionary who championed the rights of man and Republican government during the English Civil War, much like Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson would 125 years later. Yet the word light is also a metaphor for the incredible powers of the imagination. And the word talent refers to his writing ability, which he now describes as useless. So the problem becomes a philosophical one. How will the speaker spend his light, use his intellectual genius, now that he can no longer see the page? By capitalizing the word talent in the sonnet, Milton alludes to the parable of talents in the Bible. In the biblical story, a master calls in his 3 servants as he leaves on a journey. He entrusts his talents, which were coins in those days, to the servants, giving the first 5, the second 2, and the third servant 1 talent, to each according to his potential. Immediately after the master departs, the first servant hurries off to market, trades his 5 talents, and earns 5 more. Likewise, the second servant doubles his cash of talents by spending them in order to make more in return. However, the third, frightened by the prospect of losing his master's 1 talent, carefully buries it in the ground in order to preserve it. When the master returns, he asks for an accounting of his money. The first 2 servants eagerly report that they have doubled their talents by trading in the marketplace. The master praises each for his initiative and success. Then the third servant steps forward gingerly, telling the master that he buried his talent in the ground. The master scolds the third servant, "You wicked, lazy servant, should you not then have put my money in the bank so that I could have got it back with interest on my return?" Now then, take the talent from him and give it to the one with 10. For to everyone who has, more will be given. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. In Sonnet 19, Milton refers to the parable of the talents to illuminate the despair he feels over the loss of his light and his now useless writing talent. Still, the final line of the poem seems to offer the speaker some consolation. They also serve who only stand and wait. And we are left to wonder if the speaker has simply given up and resigned himself to his situation. Ironically, Milton himself refused to stand and wait. After the restoration of the monarchy in 1660, he was thrown into prison for his revolutionary activities. Yet, although he later emerged from prison physically blind and broken, he was determined not to go gently unto that good night, as Dylan Thomas would have it. Instead, a blind John Milton would go on to dictate aloud over 10,000 lines of iambic pentameter to his assistants and his daughters, lines that would form his epic masterpiece, Paradise Lost. And we all know the rest of the story, or at least English teachers do. Milton chose not to bury his talent, overcoming the severest limitations imaginable for a scholar and writer, spending his light, his intellectual and poetic genius, and taking his place in the literary pantheon. Though we assembled in this garden can only dream of such a legacy, I believe I can safely say that no graduate here this morning has chosen to bury her talents and potential. In the classroom, on the playing fields, in the writing arena, or in service to others. In fact, as I look out at the faces of these young women, most of whom I've had the privilege of working with, I know profoundly that each of you has challenged yourself to meet or surpass the expectations of us, fortunate enough to teach you and to mentor you in all of your endeavors. A favorite 19th century poet offers us another perspective. Emily Dickinson begins one of her poems with an intriguing paradox. I dwell in possibility. Dickinson then proceeds to create a metaphorical house of the mind that is more numerous of windows, superior for doors. She celebrates the power of the mind, the doors and windows it opens to the unknown, especially in those empty spaces created by her pesky dashes. And by the end of the poem, she blows the roof off her metaphorical house to encompass the everlasting roof of the cosmos, under which she gathers paradise within the confines of her narrow hands. Thus, I invite you graduates to consider Dickinson's argument. I know you understand the challenges that lie ahead, for you embody the finest qualities that we seek in our Foxcroft students. You have dedicated yourselves to fulfilling your intellectual promise. Even more importantly, as passionate young women in a true band of sisters, you have dedicated yourselves to live with integrity and courage, to take initiative to serve others, not as a cynical exercise to compile a set of data points on the college resume, but out of your genuine desire to perform many small acts of compassion that have benefited this community. You have shown us all that while we sometimes view our talents as burdens instead of blessings, we are obliged not to stand and wait, but to view our lives imaginatively as possibility in order to exercise our individual potential to transform the lives of others and society as a whole. What motivates me each day as I walk into the classroom is just that possibility. I know that while I may carry into class some well-tuned lesson plan on Hemingway, Hurston, or Hamlet, I will encounter true possibility in you, my students, young, intelligent women bent on blowing the roof off my old scholarly assumptions. And I believe I speak for the entire faculty in saying that our vocation and inspiration sits here with us in this garden this morning. In closing, as we celebrate the many accomplishments of our worthy graduates, I would like to leave them all with a final assignment. May you live deliberately this hour. May you dwell in possibility each day. May you spend, not bury, the light and talents that you possess in the years ahead. And regardless of the hour, may you continue to use all your gifts actively to enrich your life, to serve the people and communities you love, and to foster the highest qualities of character and reason for the benefit of humanity at large. Foxcroft class of 2017, this is your time. Kudos, congratulations, and carpe diem.